About a week ago, we went through the worst drivers for every modern NASCAR team. Today, we're doing the inverse, the best drivers ever for every modern NASCAR team, and let's just get right into it. For Team Trackhouse, the best ever they've had is the Melon Man, Ross Chastain. Ross has really come into his own over the last couple years driving the #1 Chevrolet. He has 2 wins per year to Suarez's 1 win total and is easily a perennial playoff guy. Chastain is also somebody who is one of the defining drivers and characters of modern NASCAR in 2022 and 2023. And Chastain's best days more than likely are actually ahead of him. For Team Penske, we have Rusty Wallace. 37 of the 55 career Cup wins in Wallace's career came with Team Penske. He also was the biggest threat for the title from 1991 to 1994. He defined Penske through the 90s and early 2000s, and he even made the 2005 chase and was in the top 5 in points for much of the 2005 season at the age of 48. While Rusty had a few down years in there, he was almost always a championship threat and a threat to win many races, and I think he just edges out Joey Logano as the best Penske driver ever. For RCR, we're gonna look at Mike Skinner. I'm kidding, y'all. It's Dale Earnhardt. Come on, who else would it be? 6 of his 7 titles were won with RCR. 67 of his 76 wins were with this team. He never finished lower than 12th in points. 16 of his 17 full seasons with the team were top 10 points finishes. He got his Daytona 500 there, and he defined NASCAR overall in the black #3 car for a majority of his time in RCR equipment. Love him or hate him at the time, love him or hate him now, Dale Earnhardt defines not only NASCAR, but winning excellence at Richard Childress Racing, and there's no one who will ever come even close. In fitting fashion, following up Dale Earnhardt for the best ever now at Stewart-Haas Racing is Kevin Harvick. Now, Kevin Harvick, alone for his 2014 championship, is already right up there with only Tony Stewart as drivers for SHR that have won NASCAR Cup Series titles. But the 2014 champion did a lot more than that. He was a perennial favorite for the championship from 2014 to 2020, winning 35 races in this span, 8 of which coming in 2018 and 9 of which coming in 2020. He was competitive even when the team started to suck really bad, and even in 2022, when none of the drivers even were coming close to getting top 20s most weeks, Kevin Harvick would win 2 races in a row, including his final win. And also, this was at the age of 46 years old. Even with how bad SHR was and with age starting to catch up with him, Harvick never failed to close when it came to making the playoffs, making it every year he was with the team. For Hendrick Motorsports, it's a toss-up between Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson. I really could have gone either way with this one, but just because I think it's going to be really fun to have the debate with this, I'm going to go Jeff Gordon. Gordon had 93 career Cup wins, 3rd most in NASCAR history, only behind Richard Petty and David Pearson. His 12.5 career average with the team, which again every race was with Hendrick Motorsports, is also astounding from a span of 1992 to 2016. He was always competitive, and even with a little bit of age fall off, he still was competing for a championship in his final career full-time race. With that too, there were only 2 times he finished outside the top 10 in points in all of those years with Hendrick Motorsports. His rookie year in 1993, as well as 2005, which was his worst career season, finishing 11th in points. He never really fell off, and in my opinion, that is the only edge he really has on Jimmie Johnson, though I will say head-to-head, Johnson did beat him a lot, though Gordon was older. Again, it's very much a toss-up. It can go either way, but today I'm feeling Jeff Gordon. Much like 1998, Mark Martin will fall behind Jeff Gordon as well, this time as the best ever for RFK. Now, this was for me a bit of a toss-up between 3 guys, Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and Carl Edwards. Edwards really didn't have the career that either of the other 2 did. Kenseth had a really great career with Roush, but it never really reached many of the stat lines except for that championship that Mark would hit. And Mark was consistently great for well over a decade. He's the best driver ever to never win a championship, and I think that only losing to Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart in this span should get you a little bit of a pass when it comes to being one of the greatest ever. From 1993 to 1999, he finished between 2nd and 5th in points each season. He had 35 wins with Roush, which was the most ever for any driver at the team, and he was the franchise guy from 1988 to 2006, being competitive in almost every season. That, to me, wins it for him. Now for Spire, the clear-cut choice is Corey LaJoie. LaJoie has 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s with the team and brought a 7 car that was a start and park, or basically a start and park team, to a top 25 team in 2023 and was legitimately in the top 20 in points for much of the regular season this past year. LaJoie is someone who has stacked enough pennies at this point to get a little bit of cred when it comes to being the best at least Spire, but he will have competition in the coming years. Going back to the super teams, we have Joe Gibbs Racing, and for me, nobody else but rowdy Kyle Busch should be ranked number 1. He has 2 championships with the team, which ties him again with Tony Stewart, kind of like the SHR with Harvick deal, but 56 wins with Joe Gibbs Racing is far and away the most that anyone has had with this team, and that number is sure to probably stay that way for the years to come. He has 4 or more wins in 9 of his 15 years with JGR, and he set every Toyota milestone or record throughout their early years in NASCAR Cup Series competition. He also led them into the Toyota future with 8 wins right off the bat in 2008, all of which being in the first 22 races. On top of that, Busch with the 18 car was one of the defining driver-sponsor combos in NASCAR at the time. To me, while he's not there anymore, he is definitely the one with a lasting legacy. For Rick Ware Racing, we have JJ Yeley. Yeley is one of the few guys that has had a long tenure with this team, and he never has had an average finish worse than 30th in a season. He averaged 27th this past year, which doesn't seem like much, but compared to the drivers around him and the equipment, it is a damn good showing. For colleague, it's AJ Allmendinger. Allmendinger has 2 Cup wins, one at the Indy Road Course and one at the Roval. And 9 of 13 of the team's top 5s come from him, and 18 of their 30 top 10s come from him. He was 21st in the points in 2023, which is the highest that the team has ever scored, though I will say colleague has really struggled in their time in Cup as well. For the Wood brothers, we got the Silver Fox with David Pearson. 43 of his 105 wins and 43 of the 99 Wood brothers wins have come from the 21 car driven by David Pearson. He never ran a full season with the team either, which is amazing looking at his numbers as well, because in his time with the 21 car, he was the only major threat year in and year out to Richard Petty, and you can see it in many of the famous NASCAR clips like the 1976 Daytona 500 finish, as well as others. Pearson may not have won a championship with the team, but he definitely was their best driver whenever he would drive for them. For 2311, it goes to Tyler Reddick. Reddick in one season has just as many wins as Bubba Wallace, as well as outperforming Kurt Busch when it comes to their time at 2311. He has 2 wins, 10 top 5s, and 16 top 10s, and a 6th place points finish in 2023. While Reddick doesn't have much competition, he is clearly the best driver at the team and is their best shot at the championship for the time being, if this team continues the way they are. Heading over to the front row, we have McDowell supremacy, as Michael McDowell is far and away the best driver that this team has ever had. He's the franchise driver of front row in my opinion, and he has the best moments this team has ever had. Making the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 seasons, this 34 team is a dark horse every year to make it based on how good McDowell is at the road courses and how good the program is at super speedways. He won the 2021 Daytona 500, And he won in 2023 at the Indy Road Course. He brought a sub-30th place team when he entered there to a yearly playoff contender and has 2 wins, 8 top 5s, and 32 top 10s in the last 6 years with the team, which I bet is way more than any of you listening and watching right now would have guessed. McDowell far and away is the guy leading Front Row into their future. Now, Legacy Motor Club is basically a rebrand of the Petty brand, but I think that this team is so different at this point, it deserves its own category, which means in 2023, Eric Jones is the best guy as he had a top 5 and 7 top 10s. The only reason he's the best at the moment is because he was better than Noah Gragson. With JTG, we also stick with the modern day and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has had a troubled career, but the best JTG season ever came in 2023, as this driver and team were a top 15 performing team for almost the entirety of the season and made the playoffs with a Daytona 500 win. The 9 top 10s scored in 2023 are also the most in a season ever for JTG. And while he ran about the same as AJ Allmendinger and Marcus Ambrose when they ran for this team, 2023 sets him far and away as the best ever for them. And finally, we go with Live Fast. And there's only one guy that ran more than 10 races in the season with this team, and that is BJ McLeod, who scored the team's only 2 top 10s. And in my opinion, the greatest moment is something I'm thankful for, being able to drive the podcast party bus for us, something I'll never be able to repay he or Live Fast for. And there you have it. The drivers, in my opinion, that were the best ever with all of the modern NASCAR teams. Now I want to pass it on to you. Who do you think are the best for each team ever? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you disagree with me on Jeff Gordon being the best with Hendrick? Or do you think it's Jimmy Johnson? Let me know all of this down below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content throughout the off season. Thank you so much to my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.